the major political activists, not just people who had been critical of him, but people that they weren't sure about who had particular sway, like radio hosts, TV hosts, cable hosts. And so that's what's so dangerous about what happened with Jesse Ventura. And now getting to that story, I just wanted to preface it with the background. They had 8 episodes. My fingerprints were all over this one. I took Jesse to the FEMA center that is designated for families during civil emergency under Rex 84. It's in Taylor, Texas. It's just one of many camps. And actually in his book, he has copies of the Houston Chronicle and the Wall Street Journal going back 5 years ago when they first reported, oh, hey, there are federal bids out to build FEMA camps for civil emergencies in America. And then, of course, there's the Emergency Centers Act that basically officially turns the old military bases into designated mass holding facilities. They've already mothballed them and have them on ice, set up, ready to use. This is in the Civilian Inmate Labor Camp program on the Army's own website. All of this is hidden in plain view. So all I did was take Ventura with the documents to some of these facilities, and here's a double barbed wire fence facing in with playgrounds and swings, and we'd previously shot video of children out at this camp because under the Rex 84 that came out in the congressional hearings in 1986 during the whole Oliver North Iran-Contra thing, it came out, it was also in the Miami Herald, that the cover for the camps at first would be to hold illegal aliens while they were sent out of the country, but then that would be used to normalize it for the jail guards, the local communities, but then that those alien detention centers would then be used for the general public and political dissenters. And so that's exactly what's happening at that Taylor facility, just one of many that I took him to. And so then he went to the congressman's office who sponsored the bill, one of the only ones that would talk to him, and he said, well, why did you sponsor this bill? And the guy laughed at him and said, well, you think aliens are coming down out of the sky to kidnap us. And he said, no, I'm talking about a bill. Here's the bill number. Stop stonewalling. And the congressman looks up at the ceiling and goes, oh, I do remember, he has a southern accent, I do remember that bill. And so normally what happens
that was pretty good, by the way.
Normally, what happens with a show like Conspiracy Theory is that it has about a $350,000 per show budget. They spend a lot of money. They fly Ventura and the rest of their investigative team, including myself, all over the country, and it's very, very expensive. So the first time it airs, it doesn't come close to paying for itself. On average, in the first season and now in the second, they air them in the next year around 50 times. And all of the other 7 episodes of last year of the second season, they've all already aired, more than 20 times in the last 4 or 5 months.
It's like the History Channel does with our Ancient Alien series. They just keep running them over and over again. Okay.
Exactly, because the audiences are large, but still it takes time to air them over and over again for it to actually, pay for the production costs.
That's right.
But I took a long time getting there. The point is that we really hit the nail on the head about the threat fusion centers, how they're the local federalization spying centers, the InfraGard, the clergy response teams, how local community leaders are being recruited to suppress the public and to sell martial law. Ventura put the whole constellation together, and it was so coherent that the night it aired, because we had a bet that it probably wouldn't air, they said this is the one episode that we think is so powerful that it may not air, that I called Jesse, I called his son Tyrell, who's also a producer on the show, and I said, congratulations, I can't believe that actually aired. But then it was supposed to air the next week before the new episode and didn't air. And then it was supposed to air the next week again, didn't air. And so Jesse and others started making phone calls, and a lot of it, that I was told from behind the scenes I'm not allowed to reveal, but massive pressure in America from Homeland Security, from the ADL, of course, the show actually decried the Nazis and the death camps in Germany and compared it to what could possibly happen here. So I don't know why the ADL is involved. Homeland Security, the ADL, congressmen and others put all sorts of pressure behind the scenes on True TV, parent company Time Warner, and told them, if you will not if you will not air it, if you will not put it back on air, we basically won't come after you with regulations and things. And then even when True TV made this deal with the devil, then they still came after him in the media and demonized him on CNN and a few other channels and did some other behind the scenes things. But they had other events like offices being broken into, men in suits rummaging through people's trash cans in an obvious way to intimidate people involved with the show. Just all sorts of things going on in and around it that is basic harassment, but then that you can't 100% link to the government. But then again, they're outside your apartment dumping out your trash in suits and then run off when you come out on your balcony. Just lots of things like that happening in America, trying to suppress. They never countered the information. They never countered the research. They just came after the show and were successful making sure that it went in the memory hole and never re-aired again.
Jeez, we'll come back with more with Alex Jones in a moment on Coast to Coast AM. Hey, don't forget our chat tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Pacific time. Those of you who are Coast Insiders, it's just it'll be our 1 hour normal typing chat. We'll resume our video chat when I'm back in Los Angeles in May, so to get ready for that. But we'll be doing our chat 8 p.m. Pacific time Tuesday night for you Streamlink Coast Insiders. When we come back, we'll continue the chat with Alex Jones next hour. We'll take your phone calls with him right here on Coast to Coast AM. Alex, how do you feel about the economy? Do you think it's getting better, or do you think it's a false sense of hope?
Oh, we know it's a totally false sense of hope. We were told 6 months ago that the recession ended in June of 2009, but unemployment is increasing. The amount of Americans, over 44 million now, on food stamps is increasing. Even the head of Walmart has come out and said that inflation is going to be very serious. We see oil prices increasing. And the main driver of this, of course, is that the International Financial Order, if you go back 2 years ago, Secretary of Treasury Geithner was in China, and he said, yes, we're open to basically devaluing the dollar and ending the dollar as the world reserve currency. So the world's currency right now is the dollar, and they are forcibly phasing it out so that they can launch what the IMF and World Bank have now admitted will be a new global digital currency. We'll still have euros, we'll still have dollars, we'll still have yens and yuans, but everything will be basically set and controlled, and the interest rates will be controlled, and the currency values will be controlled by this private coterie of central banks, the very institutions on record that got rid of Glass-Steagall here in 99 and similar laws in other countries that allowed the six big mega banks to issue $1.5 quadrillion or 1,500 plus trillion dollars that, just like Bernie Madoff with his Ponzi scheme, but much larger, allowed them to basically buy up the planet's infrastructure on the way up. Then on the way down, the governments that they financed and control sign the people, whether it's the U.S. or Greece or Portugal or Iceland, onto these debts that were created by the bankers and that we don't owe predominantly. Then they make the whole budget debate about unions or welfare or Social Security when you could get rid of all of that, and it wouldn't take care of even a small fraction of this fraudulent debt. And of course, George Soros last week and this weekend had the 4-day Bretton Woods II conference where the dollar was chosen as the world reserve currency more than a half century ago. He met there in New Hampshire at the same hotel and told Bloomberg that the dollar is already been replaced as the world reserve currency, and they've moved to oil and a basket of other currencies. And so that's why you see commodity prices increasing. And listening to Bloomberg radio that was there reporting over the weekend, I listened quite a bit. and the very banking heads that have engineered all of these problems, well, it's good for them. They're all making record profits and consolidating the economy. It's bad for all of us, but they agreed. They said there was a consensus that the dollar is to be phased out. Now, the only question is, what is the timetable? And people say, well, why do I care if the dollar is not the world currency used to buy oil, gold, and things around the world? Well, America's been deindustrialized by NAFTA and GATT and the globalist plan by design to make us dependent. And they're moving us into what they call at the UN a post-industrial society. They don't want us to be prosperous. They don't want us to be wealthy and individually independent. They want us to be beholden. They want us to have to go along with the nanny state. So we're in a long depression, similar to the one Japan's been in for 15 years, and they are just going to continue to ratchet it down while coming out with this nanny state. I'm sure you saw the Chicago Tribune, where many of their school districts do not allow the parents to pack any school lunch, and the school administrators are on the news saying parents can't be trusted to make lunches. The state must do it. And so this whole country, this whole planet is being turned into a giant prison planet. And in a prison, they don't allow you to have your own car, to have your own garden, to have your, raise your children as you see fit. In a prison, similar to what North Korea is like, the population just becomes a human resource for these globalist social engineers. And it's so sick to watch the very authors of our pain and our financial and economic suffering now posing as the saviors from, calling myself 15 years ago a kook, or, making fun of you a decade ago and many others, and G. Edward Griffin, when we were just covering their own documents and their own admissions, when we talked about a private banking system running a world government. And now it's just out in the open. They're saying, oh, there is a world government, but we just got the idea for it. And, yes, it will be run by some private banks, and they'll control everything that's going on, in your nation, but that's just the way it is. And if you don't like it, we're going to hold you financially hostage, like the Treasury Department did in October 2008 when they told congressmen and senators in closed meetings, they since went public, that if you don't give the banks unlimited trillions, we will have the president declare martial law in America. So that's the essence of martial law. We're already under a soft type of martial law where when the globalists need to, they drop the hammer and basically hold everybody hostage because they have financial control if we don't do exactly what they say. But then when we give in to them, and when Congress gave in to them, things only got worse. So it's going to be rough if we stand up to them and audit the Fed and abolish it and kick these foreign bankers out of here that took over in 1913. But it's going to be even harder if we continue to let this Hydra basically pull us down into the abyss.
Do you trust George Soros at all?
Wow. All I know is George Soros, anybody can pull this up, gave an interview with 60 Minutes